Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Well, yesterday we were at the MBA looking at the whole question of whether or not EFCC should prosecute. Remember that whole conversation? Okay, today we're being a bit more local. But then, perhaps that's not strictly true because the problem that we should be looking at, even though it's very prominent in a local sense, I'm talking about land grabbing. It's become a menace, so much so that the Lagos State government has actually set up a task force on the matter. Now, my meaning by saying that it might not necessarily be local is that there are other states. It's not just Lagos where this phenomenon is known to occur. But Lagos State has taken sort of decisive action. The Ambode administration had stated that it would seek to robustly address this whole matter, with fairness, of course, being its objective, equity and all of that. And then, coincidentally, the new Assistant Inspector General of Police that arrived in Lagos also had that as one of his agendas, that this whole problem, where he was coming from, it was not an unknown phenomenon. The land grabbers, a.k.a. Omoniles in the Yoruba language, might be something else in other languages. But that's the serious problem we'll be looking at today. You see it from Lekki to Agege to Ilasamaja to any far-flung corner of Lagos State. And so we were able to ask the chairman, the alternate chairman of the Lagos State Special Task Force on Land Grabbers, Mr. Akinjide Bakare, to join us, and I'm happy to say he has obliged us. Thank you very much for coming on, Jide.
Thank you, Folari.
Indeed. And when I say the alternate chairman, we'll get to that, and that's because the task force, the Lagos State Special Task Force on Land Grabbers, is actually headed up by the Attorney General. But then the Attorney General, he's a member of that task force, and in fact, we should find out now who other members are. But Mr. Jide Johnson, he's something like the executive. I beg your pardon, Mr. Jide Bakare, Akinjide Bakare, yes. He's something of the executive chair. Did I get that right?
That is right.
Oh, okay. Now let's quickly understand the composition of the task force. We've been hearing that it's a 5-man task force. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. The task force is comprised of the Attorney General of Lagos State, the Lagos State Commissioner for Environment, the Commissioner for Physical Planning, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Security, and the Permanent Secretary, Lands Bureau.
Okay.
Now we have the option to co-opt other members that we might find necessary as the work goes on.
Now, almost by definition, and by the way, with the Attorney General, being at the head, I didn't add it, but I could have if I had wanted to refer to you as Barrister Akinjide Bakare, because you are a lawyer yourself.
Yes, I preferred Mr.
Okay, then. Almost by definition, a task force comes up when the known structures for a given process seem to be overwhelmed. Perhaps you talk a bit about what led the Lagos State government to set up this task force to work with law enforcement. Is it the nature of the problem in Lagos State?
Thank you. The nature of the problem is one of the principal factors that led to the setting up of the task force. The problem was becoming more like a cancer sweeping through Lagos. And the perpetrators of the acts were beginning to get very, very bold. Little crimes lead to bigger ones.
Yes.
They start small, like those who collect foundation money, and then gradually they become very powerful. So at a point, the state government had to put a break into all these things and say, look, this has to stop. Now, the police have tried their best, but as it seemed, the dynamics of the force make it a bit difficult for the men at the local level to deal with the problem.
Okay.
So the state government had no choice. The impact of the activities of these people we are fighting, the impact of their activities on the economics of the state was becoming a thing of concern. Businesses were no longer sure of land they buy for their businesses. It was affecting housing. People were no longer sure whether if they buy land to develop accommodation for commercial purposes, whether their investment will be secure. It goes down to the bread seller, the meat seller who has just one plot, some of them half a plot,
yes,
who just wants to build
something residential.
Something residential. I live in my own house, a 2-bedroom apartment or something. But all those...
So nobody's immune to the scourge, is what you found out. It doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are. Yes. The land grabbers, also known as Omoniles, as I said, they step in, and you did mention that they have become bolder in recent times.
Yes.
And the general principle of how they do what they do is that they arrive with overwhelming force.
Yes.
Sometimes they will even be bearing some documents or the other. Yes. Sometimes they will even have some agencies of government apparently in tow. Only Lord knows how those ones arrived on the scene, but I can imagine that the society being what it is, maybe full disclosures and all of that. And so, but the story is that they arrive with overwhelming force, and if there should be a return of such force, often there will be a breakdown of law and order.
Yes. That is where government is coming in, and that is what governance is about. It is not about individual strengths. It is about all of us gathering all the powers we have and giving it to a government to exercise on our behalf. Now, this government is responsible and is taking that duty very seriously. The problem of these land grabbers, like you said, they have all sorts of powers. They have money, a lot of it.
Most important.
They have a lot of force, and they do not care. Those who fear, it is because they care about something. They don't care about anything. All they care about is the profit. Now, you also said that they have the backing of some government agencies.
Apparently.
I would say they have the protection of some individuals. An agency, as an agency of government, will not support any illegality, but individuals within those agencies.
Oh, it's an important distinction.
Yes, it is.
That oftentimes, even though, yes, by the time you lawyers get hold of it, there might be vicarious liability and all of that. But you're saying that the distinction needs to be made between a government agencies and some individuals
within.
Okay, because
there are bad eggs everywhere.
There are bad eggs anywhere. Now, by and large, it would appear that the principal business of your task force, which really is the business of the police and all law enforcement, is to restore normalcy, let everybody go to due process.
Exactly.
Let decisions be determined, and then we go from there. What we often find is that in the case of the land grabbers, they get tired of waiting, and as you've just said, they don't care. They can do what they do. How exactly does the task force work, or will it work? How does one approach the task force and say, come and look at my case. Somebody's chasing me off my land. Somebody's grabbed my land. How does it work?
Now, the task force works, we receive petitions from members of the public, people who are aggrieved, people who have something to complain about. The petitions are received from the Office of the Attorney General. It is addressed to the Chairman, Lagos State Special Task Force on Land Grabbers. Office of the Attorney General, Lagos State. We also have some phone lines from which we receive complaints from members of the public, especially when they have emergencies, when these people are upon them.
Yes.
The phone numbers, do you want me to give them now?
Well, you've been publicizing this phone number. Give me the numbers, and our guys will put them on the screen.
The numbers are 0909 666 7123.
Okay.
090 2008 5005.
Okay.
On those two numbers, we are reachable at all times.
All right. And just in case you were watching or listening with a pen in hand, let me just quickly go over those numbers again. 0909 666 7123. And then the other number is 0902 008 5005. We'll write the numbers subsequently. Our producers will put them there for you. But as you were saying, so in terms of stress and emergency, you can also be reached.
We can be reached when people have emergencies. If it is in far-flung places where we don't have structures right now, we have a network of
Yes.
DPOs that we can, police structures that we can use as they are existing.
Okay. Because it's what you just said, it's, even though it's a Lagos State government task force, all regular law enforcement agencies are involved with it, right?
Yes, absolutely. They are involved. The task force right now, we have a representative of the Commissioner of Police of Lagos State, who is a senior police officer. He's also one of the members of the task force right now. So through that, we are able to reach the police formations when we need any assistance.
Okay,
yes.
So that, and then physical planning.
Physical planning in relation to, because most of the time we find out that one of the ways in which these land grabbers secure the land that they grab is by starting building immediately.
That's what they do, immediately. And overnight, they can build a structure.
We have seen situations where a structure was started from scratch to completion, to occupation within 2 months.
Yes.
This was as a result of land grabbing,
yes.
and the persons were determined. So we know that when such developments have to be done at such speed, they are in too much of a hurry to get the appropriate government permits. So physical planning is involved.
Yeah, I see.
We will ask them, this building you are putting up, do you have any permits for it? So that's one of the ways in which we stop their activities while we investigate the claims of the petitioner.
And that investigation is an important part of it before your task force moves. Now, what reliefs are actually available? And, you know, you're a lawyer, so you're not strange to the concept of sometimes the wheels of justice grind very slowly. Especially the victim who might not have the muscle, as it were, and might, and I said overwhelming force is usually what is brought to bear. Yes. What can such people do for investigation, at least?
Yes. You have said consistently that about this issue of overwhelming force, but it is not always the case. There are categories of this land grabbing Omonile issue.
Okay.
And let me make the distinction first of, because we have had the quarrel with some Omonile, legitimate Omonile. Anybody who is born in a family, they have land, I mean, in Yoruba language, is Omonile. But the Omonile we are talking about are the negative ones, the ones who don't necessarily belong in that environment.
Yes.
But because of their ability to apply force and violence, they have turned themselves to some kind of small gods in those areas. That distinction being made. Now we have those small problems of, okay, you have bought land, you want to construct, somebody comes with maybe a few people and says, no, you cannot build until you pay us so an amount of money. Okay. That is against the law.
And that's one category.
That is one category. The other category is, okay, you have bought land, you have not done anything on it for a number of years. And these individuals, family members, will probably sometimes sell the land to somebody else. Now, that is another category of land grabbing. Okay. Now, there is also this category of a full force, the type that you have made allusion to. Hundreds of men with weapons, offensive weapons as they are called, and which sack the entire village. They remove the bale, impose their own person, like the old kind of wars that we know, that's what they do.
It can't get as bad as that.
It can get it's gotten as bad as that, and anybody who stands in their way gets killed. So,
but the task force doesn't think it is powerless against such antics.
What we have found out is that your average land grabber, people who do such violence, they are like your school bully. Once they see any form of resistance, they have a way of withdrawing.
Yes.
And we're already noticing some withdrawals in some places.
Because the Lagos State Properties Protection Law, it actually stipulates up to 21 years in jail for convicts.
For convicts,
if indeed they are convicted.
Yes, it starts with forceful entry onto another's property. It goes on, that attracts 10 years imprisonment upon conviction. After forceful entry, forceful remaining on the land itself attracts another term of 10 years. Selling land to another person, knowing that the land had already been sold to some other person, attracts a term of imprisonment. To be on a parcel of land while armed with offensive weapons, with the aim of depriving the owner of that land or the occupier of that land, the occupation of the said land, attracts an additional, I think, 4 years. And
all these instances have actually been seen before.
They have been. We have seen all of them before. The making of the law was it was preceded by town hall meetings, and most of what you see in the law are the agitations of the people of Lagos State. The lawmaking process was very all-inclusive. People were invited to share their experiences, and from those experiences, the penalties were recommended.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, you said earlier that one of the ways that these people sort of take possession is, as you said, in lightning speed, put up a structure, and I think there's something, whatever the law says about this. So there's that. Can your task force pull down such structures, or how does it go? Because clearly somebody is trying to use force. We said that money is available, and so they can, within a week, too, actually put up some structure to show that we have arrived here. Are those structures there permanently?
They are most definitely not there permanently. The Lagos State Fiscal Planning law is there.
Which is part of this task force?
Which is part, well, the ministry
where they have representation.
Yes, on the task force. So the law is there already, which makes it a crime to develop property in Lagos State without a permit.
Okay.
And
But anything can be done with money. Let's say if a permit is going to be a problem, and if I have unlimited money, I just use that expression.
Yes.
Couldn't I just maneuver my way and come up with the permits in 2-3 days?
To pretend that does not happen, to pretend that it doesn't happen will be self-deceit.
Genius.
Yeah. But what I want to say is that the people in fiscal planning, everybody knows the attitude of this governor, of this government to such activities. Recently, when there was a building collapse somewhere in Lekki, the development control officers who were in charge of the area were all relieved of their jobs. So it is left for public servants, civil servants, to make a choice, either to be on the right side of the law, which I can't say that most workers of Lagos State are. But like I said, we have bad eggs, and there would be such people, but the government is ready to deal with such people. I can assure you, to a very, very large extent, that money will not help those who are doing these illegal activities.
Now, the nature of business, shall I say, your sector, that when I say business, that you are involved in on a daily basis because of, your task force, so many people will be involved. Since coming into being, have you people had a chance to put your feet up, or are you? Has there been a deluge of what are those things called? Petitions.
Yes.
Because when we're speaking with the new AIG, he said you can't believe the petitions that are with him in Area 2.
You won't believe it. The expression that I caught in one of our town hall meetings is that this is the governance meeting desire.
Okay.
It so said that at a point when the people of Lagos were about to give up, the government came in and performed the duties of governance and brought about this law, set up this task force. So, as a result, the number of petitions that we receive, the number of calls that we receive every day is such that you won't believe it. But you will believe it if you are close to the grassroots. Yes. You know the sufferings that the people are going through. You will understand why there are so many petitions and why people so need the work of the task force to be successful.
And I think there might be more of those petitions because we just put the numbers up. If you guys could just give us the numbers again, please. We put them up recently, the numbers that you just gave us. Put the numbers up, please, again. So there you go. Those are the numbers. So we expect 2 or 3 more calls to.
Yes. there are people who are answering those calls, and they will direct people. They are able to categorize. If you have an emergency, they deal with it as an emergency. But if it is something that can wait, good enough. Land is not something that can be taken away. Although it can be stolen, but it can be taken away.
Yes.
So we have the luxury of time in some instances. At least when it doesn't involve them pulling down existing buildings.
Yes.
If it is just bare land,
yes,
and they are trying to come on it,
that can be sorted out simply.
It is not so much of an. But we have seen cases of people who have called us that the land grabbers are in their house right now, with a bulldozer trying to pull down their house, and we have.
Do you have your own bulldozers, if you get my meaning, that are following the investigation and people, as we just said, about putting up lightning structures? Can law enforcement knock down those structures? Because you said earlier that those structures are not there.
That is why the government has made provision in physical planning and in the Ministry of the Environment for these facilities. So we do not need to repeat those facilities with the task force. Those ones are there. It is just for us to ask Ministry of Environment, where it involves drainages, where it involves general environmental issues, please take care of this issue for us from this point, and we following up. So it's given priority attention. The same with physical planning.
When people like your agency, but not really limited to your task force, when they come around, oftentimes in instances like this, they will put some notice up on the wall, removal or stoppage or whatever. But then again, I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new, that as soon as those people have left, the wrongdoers, alleged wrongdoers, immediately bring out a can of paint and paint over that message, and so nothing has happened. And people, can they get away with that?
Of course they cannot. They deceive themselves, or maybe they save themselves some face in the eyes of their neighbors. But the person who came to mark the property has taken a photograph of the mark that he put on the building. So it doesn't matter whether he wipes it off with any new paint or whatever. The marking shows a level of the activities of the concerned agency, and like I said, it's already recorded by way of a photograph.
How easy, Jide, is it to go about your work? And by that question, I mean you can't do it alone. You need so many sister agencies, organs of government. Is everybody on board, or are there challenges? Not necessarily because they don't agree with the objective of equity, but perhaps methodologies might different. Perhaps one organ, maybe the police, for example, have certain standards that they would like to be gone through. Maybe, that kind of a thing. Is there a sort of synchronicity, synergy of rules and objectives?
The end goal is clear to everybody, that we must eliminate this menace from Lagos State. How we get there, different people might want to take different routes, but because we have the end goal, a common end goal at the back of all our minds, it's easy for us to align our various viewpoints and get to where we're going.
Okay.
So it's not so difficult to coordinate such things, because at the end of the day, we keep reminding ourselves we must not allow the enemy to prevail.
And oftentimes in going about this objective, it can take time. You know, when a person is under pressure, he wants his problem to be removed like tomorrow.
Yes.
But there's a lot to be done before people can come
yes.
legitimately.
Yes. Quite interestingly, it's something that I always tell people who are in a seeming hurry. And I say, well, your problem did not start today. And it might be unfair for you to think that coming here today, we will solve your problem today. Mm-hmm. We have had situations where we solve the problem on the same day it gets to us.
Okay.
Somewhere near your studio here, the community cried to us that some land grabbers were entering their community and were starting some construction. It was on the same day that we got the complaints that we moved in and we did the appropriate demolition. The police, there was going to be police intervention, but all of us, including the new AIG, spoke with one voice against the people who were perpetrating the illegality. So I would say that people should just be patient.
As hard as it can be.
Yes, as hard as that can be.
Because the wheels of justice, unfortunately,
grinds quite slowly.
Quite slowly from time to time. But it is the Ambode administration objective that justice will be served at the end of the day. Okay, I can imagine that there's so many examples and instances of this up and down Lagos. We'll open the phone lines now because people, I'm guessing, might want to contribute to their observations and maybe make suggestions or maybe ask questions for further clarification. So apart from the number, those numbers are not the numbers you call for our program. They're the numbers you call, as the chairman was saying, if you wanted to reach this particular task force. So we'll take a break now. Stay with us, please. And when we come back, we'll open up our studio lines and maybe take your questions and observations. Okay, welcome back, and thanks for joining us if you've just arrived, because you're in time to maybe ask questions or contribute your observations. Our guest is Mr. Akinjide Bakare. He's chairman alternate of the Lagos State Special Task Force on Land Grabbers, alternate because it is the Attorney General that is actually the statutory chairman, but then Mr. Bakare is the executive chair, although that's not how they say it. They say alternate. Okay, so we're opening the phone lines now, and you can make your calls in. You've explained that you also work within the law. The investigations are necessary,
yes.
And so people might not be able to get the succor always that they need instantly. But that in the fullness of time, justice will be served.
Yes.
I guess that's
yes. We have also not abandoned the alternative dispute resolution platforms.
Okay.
We have found out that in some instances, the landowner, the petitioner, is not really so keen on getting the land back. Or sometimes even the person who is on the land, he is himself a victim, who has been sold a dummy.
Yes.
Because he felt at the time he was buying that he was buying probably genuine family land.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the family had already sold. So when we see such situations, we try to hold meetings with everybody in attendance, and sometimes we are able to find resolution. However, the crime has already been committed by probably members of the family who, having sold to somebody, are making an attempt to sell to another person.
Can that crime be addressed? Because these are these statute barred?
Oh, no. The crime, for criminal law, crimes are not statute barred insofar as you can find facts with which to prosecute.
Okay. Excuse me, please. I hear that the calls are coming in thick and fast. Victor, Mr. Victor has called in from Ajegunle. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you, sir. I really want to appreciate the discussion and the man there.
Mr. Bakari.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Bakari. So we really, guys, I want to thank the governor and the government of Lagos State for this step that they have taken. Over time, people have been crying over the activity of these people. I want to really plead with them to be consistent and be persistent to make sure that what they have started, they are able to accomplish it. Because it's one of the things that will cause joy to the heart of Lagosians. Because if something has really gone out of hand. I also want to use this opportunity to appeal to them. The activity of the area boys at the bus stops, and sometimes they just beat up people like that. It could be regularized or put under regulation so that they will have a method that collections that they take from road users will be made official, kind of.
Okay. Thank you very much, Victor. Just make Lagos generally a much more, improve the lawfulness of the society. He referred to area boys, sometimes allegedly OPC members, as part of the show of force that they usually come with.
Yes.
And by the time someone's swarming around your property with, scores of area boys, and, you just, as it were, hands up and just hope that blood doesn't flow.
It's been criminalized. It's a crime to, even if you have a judgment of a court, you cannot use these people that they talk about, these area boys, militias, you cannot use them to enforce.
Sometimes even the sheriffs, which is a lawful part of the judicial system, sometimes you find them involved, but you did explain that, look, distinction should be made between agencies and individuals.
And the individuals, yes. There is no doubt. It's how do you know he's a sheriff? All you can see is a uniform. Yes. And a uniform can be made by a tailor.
Yeah.
So sometimes the person that you see who is enforcing this unlawful judgment is not really.
Okay. Samali is calling in from Ojodu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, yo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Akijide.
Good morning.
Yeah, my question is, my suggestion is that the government must be up and doing at eliminating these land grabbers. And I also blame past successive government in Lagos for the measures of land grabbers. In the 60s, the first time I came to Lagos, you have 6 operas in place. The Oba of Lagos, the one in Badagry, the one in Epe, and the one in Kodu. Overnight, politicians, for their own selfish end, brought in land grabbers. These past, whom I can refer to as Omoniles. Now, how will a common man like me report people like the Ojora and the Oluwa families who had millions of acres of land in Lagos that are funded?
Okay. Okay, Mr. Samali, thank you for calling in. Well, I mean, he will answer, but everybody's equal before the law. I know people might say that, pull the other one, but we've got to go with that principle, I imagine. Nobody's too big for the law to affect him. But, sir.
We will pleasantly surprise Lagosians. We are so determined to make this work. And to this end, we are holding town hall meetings to pre-warn our people that it is better for you to talk to me now, listen to me, rather than come to me after you have been arrested. Because at that point, I will not listen to you. So, big or small, the only thing that makes anybody big, to my mind, what I was taught at elementary school, is your high standards of behavior. Okay. That is what makes anybody a big man. That's what should make anybody a big man in any society. So, I do not believe that any of those prominent families that you have mentioned would, as a family policy, do all those things that you are saying. I revert to what I said earlier, that as per agencies of government, also as per families, that it does not sound to me reasonable that a family will have it as a policy to do those things, but individuals within the family.
Yeah, again.
The bad, I mean, the not so good children within the family might do things in the name of the family which don't necessarily reflect the behavior of the family itself.
I understand. Mr. Latunji is calling in from Abeokuta. Good morning.
Sir.
Mr. Latunji.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really want to contribute to your program.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. You see, I want to commend the Lagos State government for initiating this idea. It's a welcome development. And the activities of this land grabber is so damn too much everywhere. Can you imagine a house where my grandmother built in Lagos, this so-called land grabber, Orlando now, whatever, came around to me, came in the house for just no reason.
Yeah.
Presently, the case is in court, and I want to tell you, if not because of this problem we're having in court, we really want to give out this out for land developers.
Okay.
But I still want to commend the government.
So you're a victim too. And by the way, Mr. Latunji, you calling in from Abeokuta, is it different in Ogun State? What's your experience? Because I hear that it's not as bad a problem in Ogun State. Well, is it or isn't it?
The problem in Ogun State is not as that of Lagos.
Okay.
Actually, we are having the same problem, but it's not as bad as that of Lagos.
Okay, in your judgment. Thank you very much, Mr. Latunji. You can't let Ogun beat us.
Yes, no, they are actually contacting us already.
Ogun State?
Yes, they want to...
they're looking at the model.
They're looking at the model.
As often happens with projects in Lagos.
Yes, we fund the research, the hard work, and others just...
well, it's okay.
That's what happens when you are the leader.
Yeah.
Like he said, I will encourage him to write us a petition. If he has the information about those who are disturbing them, because usually when they come to your land, they leave you a phone number and all that. So leave their phone numbers, put their phone numbers on the petition. We will do what we need to do.
Yes.
We know how to get to everybody by the available facilities that we have at our disposal. We will do what we can, but it should ensure that if the property that he's talking about was a leasehold, was his family performing its obligations under the leasehold? Those are things that we have seen.
Issues that
those are issues that we have seen that we will investigate. They should also include their title documents in the petition that they are submitting to us. But by the grace of God, the task force will be willing to assist.
Yemi, Mr. Yemi, calling in from Surulere. Good morning, sir. We're waiting on you, Mr. Yemi.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. I first and foremost want to say I appreciate what you have been doing on this particular program.
To God be the glory.
That is number one. Number two, I want to speak with your guest.
Please go ahead. Make it short, please, because there's so many people wanting to speak with him as well. Go ahead now, Mr. Yemi.
I appreciate what the Lagos State government is doing.
Yes.
I want to ask a question.
Sure.
What about if you want to renovate a house? If you want to renovate a house and this hoodlum comes and they say they have to take something, can anything be done about that?
Yes, most
Thank you, Mr. Yemi.
Most certainly something can be done about that. All you just need is to send us a petition. If, however, they are disturbing you at a particular point in time, you could call those numbers that are scrolling on your screen.
Okay, we'll put the numbers up. Yeah.
But it is always better if you send us a petition so that we can deal with this problem. They do not have any right to come to you to ask for money for renovation. But While we are saying that, let me also remind you that under the physical planning laws of Lagos State, in order to renovate, if you are changing any structures in the house, then you need to get a permit to do that.
So everybody, all parties have their own obligations.
Obligations,
you know,
yes, yes.
And
you just make sure that you are on the right side of the law.
And as you have said, there actually are legitimate omoniles.
Yes.
Omonile being the Yoruba for landowners or children of landowners.
Yes.
So there are legitimate.
They don't have a right, however, to come and collect money for renovation.
No. Even
Section 11 of the law gives them a right to collect some token pre-agreed for foundation. And that has been, some people have said that we shouldn't have done that, but we know why we did it.
Okay. Wait a minute. Say that again carefully, because people are complaining that I'm starting my foundation. Some people show up and say, you can't go ahead if you don't settle me. You're actually saying that is backed by law?
Yes, it is. Let us be cautious the way we say it is backed by law. Now, Section 11 says that it shall be unlawful for anybody to stop forcefully stop anybody from working on any construction for the purpose of collecting such monies as foundation money or possession levy. The section, however, recognizes the rights of families to collect some such levies. What we are saying is that such levies must have been agreed before the person buys the land.
Okay.
And it must be specific as to amount. It has to be a token.
Okay.
For it to be reasonable, it has to be a token.
And millions cannot be seen as a token.
Cannot be a token. And you cannot use force to collect such money.
Okay, then. All right. Mr. Taiwo from Ijushaga, thank you very much for holding on. Go right ahead now. Good morning, sir.
I've been holding on for some time, but it doesn't really matter. It's in respect of the land grabbers in Lekki, Aja Addis. To the extent that you cannot even bring in materials. They are there when it comes to granite, sand, cement, name it, wood. They are on the road. They are collecting money. That's number one. Number two, is it right for them to collect money right from foundation through to decking, through to the roof? Because like the gentleman there, which you said, that it is in part of Lagos State's agreement that they should give them a token. Does it extend to decking, roofing? Please, you need to expatiate further.
Okay, thank you very much, Taiwo. Let me let go of you now, because the question is, let me let go of you now. Yes. You've explained about the foundation. But now decking stage, roofing stage.
Yes, all those, at least as far as the law is concerned, all those are illegal. The law recognizes the family, emphasis on the family, because most of the people that you see come to you are not members of the family. Because if the family were to ask you for anything, they will tell you, go to the family office where they have offices, or go to the family head, and receipts will be issued to you when they take such monies. But the people that come to you using force and so on, they are definitely people that we can deal with.
Okay.
And if you let us know about them on time, at a time when we will find them where they are disturbing you, we will. You will be surprised at what we will do with such people.
Because all sorts of characters probably go by the terminology omonile, but they're actually, it isn't actually always true.
Yes, I have seen somebody with tribal marks from the Middle Belt claiming to be omonile in Lagos.
Okay, so there you go. Well, there you go. So these kind of things happen. But it seems that the task force is, you said that so many petitions have come in.
Yes.
In fact, the numbers that you gave, if people were to call them, there's a team that's working hours, or can they call at any time? And
yes, working hours, but we implore people, except for extreme emergencies, they should please let us rest at weekends.
Oh,
because
okay.
we have had to receive calls when we have to tell people, please call on Monday.
Okay,
yours
especially
is not
when
an emergency.
Oh, okay.
We can deal with it on Monday, and then they should please not call us at night.
Yeah, okay. Oh, okay, understandably. And then the way these things are being processed, you know, when a person thinks he has a problem, he wants to know what the progress is.
Yes.
You people must be great psychologists as well, because I imagine you know the anguish people are in, and they want to know what's going on. Nothing has happened. Is there a segment of your work that addresses those human concerns?
One of the persons who handles the telephones is Mrs. Mosumola Balogun. She's very well trained in such psychological. Sometimes that beats my own patience. The amount of time she
needs to spend sometimes
to some people to give them comfort, and by the time they start from the point of agitation, by the time she finishes with them, they are at a point where they are laughing together.
Okay.
Even some of the people that are complained against, she will call them and right on the phone without even seeing any of the two parties. She has been able to solve some of the problems.
Okay. Mr. George from Ikeja, good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling.
Uncle Yori, I'm very proud of this gentleman in front of you.
Mr. Akintunde Bakari. Akinjide Bakari.
Yes, and the Lagos State government for this initiative they have taken. So many people are suffering from this problem they are trying to solve. The question I wanted to ask, it seems to have already answered them. People who come in the midst of building at every stage to come and demand for money that if you don't give them, but he has already said, he has already answered it. So the only question I want to add is, does the state government have the capacity to face these people consistently?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way it's happening, the magnitude is large. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It could easily lead to a loss of lives. You know?
Yes.
And so he's talking about the capacity. And let me back that up a bit, if I may, in just a few seconds.
Yes.
Take the anti-street trading and hawking law. We know that there's a law against that. But if you happen to go through Maryland, you see that it's like there is no law. So that when he put that question, that does the government have the wherewithal to actually achieve its own desired objective?
Yes, the government of Lagos State, that is the one I can speak about, has the wherewithal and the willpower to do this. The governor has approved a budget for us.
Okay.
So the governor backs us up in every way that we want. The Attorney General is there for every need of
the police.
The police
are on board.
So the government, the power of government is so massive. It only takes people who have the political will to wield those powers on the right of righteousness. The issue of street trading that you talked about, I do not have capacity to talk about, but you see that the dynamics of street trading is quite different from that of what we are trying to fight.
It is.
On our side, it's either you are doing what is right or what is wrong.
Okay.
And sometimes there are gray areas in the middle, and that's where I talk about where we do mediation and all that. But government is quite willing, has the capacity.
You talked about political will, and that reminded me of politicians, let it be said. Politicians, political stalwarts, they often sometimes are involved, and by nature, politicians tend to have followers. They also tend to have money to throw around.
Yes.
And sometimes, so it's an unfair contest. Somebody might arrive, for example, just picking a figure off the top of my head. He wants an operation, a land grabbing operations. He's able to put to them a paltry sum like ₦1 million in his back pocket to distribute. You know, it's a paltry sum to him. The unfortunate person who is the victim of all of this cannot compete against that. Maybe you'll include this, but let me not. I don't want to keep Mr. Solomon from Badagry waiting, so maybe this will find a way into the answer.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Solomon from Badagry.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling me.
Thank you for your program.
Thank you.
Two issues I want to touch. Apart from contributing to the issue of land grabbing. A lot of people have already mentioned most of the things they are doing, which includes soccer way. You are building soccer way. The area boys come, they collect money. You are building your fence, maybe your fence and falling down, they come and collect money. I believe all those are also included on the illegitimacy of the land grabbing issue. Another thing I want to ask a broadcaster, I wanted to know who is really responsible for radio and television license. Because why I ask that question is that...
who is responsible for what? Radio and television what?
Radio and television license.
License?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Is it the local government or the broadcasting entity?
I
know this issue has been going on with God for a very long time.
Yeah. We've even...
because in my area, people come, the local government people come as early as 5 a.m. to lock people's shops.
Yeah.
Under the pretense of collecting radio and television license. Please, can you enlighten me?
Okay, Mr. Solomon, thank you very much for calling in. I'm going to edit out, and forgive me for doing so, the last part, because we don't have all the time we'd like. So I'm going to edit out the radio and TV licensing one. I'm sure you recall that the former governor of Lagos State was on this program, and this question was put, and he had addressed it. It is the local government. I recall that was his categoric answer. It is the local government that is responsible, but I don't want to go there. Now, to go to the other one, we're getting to understand all sorts of things on this program. Omonile is one thing. Now, Mr. Solomon is contributing that even when you have a soccer way to empty or construct, or you have a repaired work to do on your wall, people can show up Omonile and say, yeah, you can't go ahead without, taking care of me first.
Yes.
It's part of the problem?
It is part of the problem. And the simple answer to that is that the work, or for the lack of any other expression to use to describe what they're doing, was becoming profitable. And when anything becomes profitable,
the activities of all these Omoniles
was becoming profitable for them.
Business.
And so some of them who have actually learned some trades, leave those trades to go back to the village to
become professional
Omonile.
And that's another part of this whole Omonile.
Yes.
Essentially, because you see, they have all sorts of semblances. Yes. I'm not telling you anything new when I say that there are even lawyers involved in this whole Omonile saga.
Yes. And the law has taken care of them. The law has taken care of them in that it recommends the reporting of such individuals to their professional bodies, lawyers, surveyors, who participate in the activities of these illegal acts.
They can report them.
We are to report them to their professional bodies. But you mentioned the issue of politicians.
Yes.
Let me start by saying that the law itself was the initiative of politicians. So, like I said, there will be some amongst them who don't really believe in what we are doing.
Okay.
I can say, however, about the 40 men and women in the Lagos State House of Assembly that they are 100% behind us, and they will not allow themselves to be part of the problem.
Okay, that's gratifying to note.
Yes.
All too often it goes on like when we have a thing like this, we need 2 hours, we don't have 2 hours. So I'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Akinjide Bakare.
Thank you very much.
Alternate chairman of the Lagos State Special Task Force on Land Grabbers. You've explained a lot. You've given us phone numbers and also explained how it works, and also explained that, look, we will reach there. It might not happen overnight, but we are determined that justice will be done at the end of the day, so that we have a more ruly society at the end of the day. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow, God being my help. I am Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.